So we're going to go over section D, which is the component setup section. So this sets up each individual component that's used on the V22 Osprey. If you go to our website, which is the Rotormast.com website, and you go to technology, you can hit this download software button. And when you do that, you'll get this screen here, and you can download both the castle creation setup software, and also you can download our controller software. So when you hit the download button, you'll end up with this folder, and you want to go stick this stuff in all this stuff in a folder titled, or a folder named Rotormast, or Rotormast configurator, and then you just drop and drag that in. And then you also want to download your castle creation setup, and you'll want to dump that into that folder or someplace convenient to find too. This makes it a lot easier to set up the castle creation speed control. You can just dump this in as long as you have the data link for the castle speed control also. So just dump those in a folder. It's important that all the controller software be in the same folder. It needs access to each piece of the software to actually operate. So also, if you're doing a speed control setup, you need to go to the castle website and get their software. They have a Castle Link software, and they have this Castle Link data viewer. So the Castle 50 amp speed controls have a data logger, and we'll use the data logger in the setup of the V22. So you need to also use that functionality at some point in time in the setup. So once you get the Castle Link software loaded on your computer, if you double click that, you can open their software. You get their Castle Link, which there's a coupon for a free one, and all the speed control packs. So you can actually just send that coupon in. They'll send you one of these Castle Links. You just plug that into a USB. You pull the speed control controller wire, unplug it off the nacelle wiring board, and just plug it into the Castle Link, making sure the polarity is correct. So as soon as it's plugged in, you can kind of take a look at what all the different options are, but really all you need to do is just go File, Load Settings. You want to browse to wherever you have your Castle Link set up. Just select that Castle Link setup. It's called Castle V-22 setup, and open that. And then you want to update the controller, so that'll send this information to the controller. You also want to make sure you're at the latest firmware setup, which we probably should have done before. Usually it'll warn you, and these particular ones are. So, and that basically sets up your device. You're running in governor mode. You have the auto rotation enable set, which allows you to use your throttle hold switch and quickly turn the throttles back on. You've got a slow spool up speed set. This is the governor mode settings. You've got some RPMs set, so if you're running your throttle at 30%, you'll be running this motor RPM. If you're running your throttle at 70%, you'll be running this RPM, and if you're running at 100%, you'll run this RPM. So here lately I've been flying at this a little bit lower RPM. It seems to do just fine. Brake settings, battery settings, motor settings, your BEC settings. So I am using the BEC in this device. I set it to 5.5 volts. Data logging. This is what we can data log and actually look at after we do some flying. And then there's software. So basically it's that easy to set up the castle. Just unplug it and you can plug it back into the wiring board. And you got to do the other side too. So I'll do the other side real quick. I plug in the speed control. I go File, Load Settings, browse to where I have my castle set up, and then send to device, and OK. And it's that easy. And now you've got your speed control set up. So the gyro setup, step 2 of section D, if you are using the 520 gyros and you place them on the ship as recommended in the instructions, then you can just use the factory settings of the 520 gyro right out of the box, so there's no programming you need to do. All the directions will be right, and every other setting in there is you can use just a standard default. If you use the 401 gyro and you locate them as instructed in the instructions, then you need to make just a couple changes. You need to turn the digital servo switch to on. You need to run the volume knob all the way to full. You want to turn the delay knob all the way down, and you want to make sure that the reverse setting for each gyro is set to normal, and then those will be set up correctly. The BEC, you want to run 5.5 volts. That BEC setting set up in the speed controls in step number 1. And then to start the configurator and get it set up, the first thing we'll do, and I already went over this, is download these files into your PC off the Rotormast website. You have the configurator executable, which is the program. You have the DLL, which is the USB interface that's used so your computer can talk to our controller. You have the controller software, which you'll want to update, and we have updates come out every once in a while, and you want to make sure you have the current one, which is the one you'll load off the website. And then you have a settings file that's also on the website, and we have 2 settings available, the latest settings, and one's has a 520 after it, so that's the one you use if you're going to use your 520 gyro and one is a 401. So that one's used when you're flying with the 401, and the gain settings are slightly different in each one. So get these off the website and make sure you put them all in the same folder. So you want to browse to where your V22 configurator program is, this executable exe. And the first thing you want to do is right click on it in properties, and I think it's down here when you first bring it in, but there'll be a block or unblock box, and you want to click the unblock box, and that'll allow you to actually run the program. So as soon as you do that, you can double click on it and you'll fire up the configurator program. And this is what it looks like. We have a nacelle servo setup tab, a pitch governor setup tab, a conversion curve setup tab, a gyro gain curve setup tab, a landing gear tab, and a systems tab. So each one of those are used. Most of this stuff's already set up for you. So the first thing you want to do is go to Systems Options and browse to the latest V20 controller.bin file, and select that, and that is what you want to load into your controller. So you just take a USB cable and plug it into the USB port on the controller. And the light will turn green on the controller. There's no power on the ship. So the way you load in the software is you need to I actually unplug the USB controller on the computer because it's easier to get to. I press the programming button on the controller and then re-plug in the USB and then let go of the button. And then I'll get a green and red flashing light on the face of the controller, and you can hit this Start Update button. Now, sometimes it won't update, and I've noticed that if you wiggle the USB connections, you can get it to go. So if you have problems with it updating, that's all you need to do. Okay, so now the software in the controller is up to the latest version of software, but there's not really any settings in the device yet. So we want to load a configuration, and we want to browse to wherever you have the settings file that you loaded off to. This ship has the 401, the 520 gyros in it, so I'll double click on the 520 setup, and then I'm going to save that to the device, and that's going to synchronize. You can read here and synchronize with the device. So now we've got the latest and greatest values for all this stuff. So if you want, you can save this configuration, and you can save it under your name, so when you start doing specific setup work, you can keep a saved file of that. That'll be specific to your aircraft.